This is the MLW Radio Network. This is the Mind of the Meanie. Here are your hosts, the Blue Meanie and Adam Barnard.
Peace, world, and welcome everybody to the Mind of the Meanie, your weekly peek into the world according to former WWE superstar and ECW original, the Blue Meanie. We'll cover wrestling, music, movies, sports, and lots of useless knowledge, all contained in the Mind of the Meanie. I'm your tour guide, Adam Barnard, and he is the Blue Meanie. Meanie, what's on your mind?
Since you're listening, I am currently in
Foggy London town.
Foggy London town with my good friend Baxter. This is another Ask Meanie Anything entire edition, episode, whatever, gimmick, thing,
brother,
thingamabob. I'm looking forward to it. I like these Ask Meanie Anythings. Ask Meanie Anythings because there are a lot of good memories. I like Ask Meanie Anything. It's my one of my favorite things of our show. Keep it interactive, and away we go.
Yeah, I'm always excited to get to pick Meanie's brain on anything that y'all want to hear. So make sure while we're when we're tweeting out, just make sure you follow us at Twitter at Mind of the Meanie. You can drop your questions there using the hashtag Ask Meanie. You can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Mind of the Meanie, and you can like the page there and leave your questions for us as well. We're going to get started here, a full Ask Meanie Anything. But Meanie, first, before we do that, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Are you ready to ask Meanie?
I would love to. It's time to ask Meanie anything. Ask me something.
Ask Meanie 5. Here we go. First question, Surveillance asks, hey, Meanie, outside of the Phillies and the Eagles, what are your other favorite sports teams?
Besides the Eagles, I used to say 4 for 4, but 5 for 5. I like the Flyers, Sixers, and the Union. I'm unapologetically a Philadelphia homer. So, I just like sports. Just, it's a happy distraction from everyday life and stress and all that, especially when they're winning, it's even better. But I love sports. I love playing sports video games. I just picked up the new Madden, which I haven't dove into yet, but every year I said I'm never buying another edition of Madden, and then the Eagles went up, probably had one of their best off seasons in a while. So I'm just like, all right, hopefully this one fucking holds me over for a little bit. Because it seems like every year I get mad and I play a couple games and then I peter off and then pick up MLB The Show, which is actually my favorite of the sports games. I guess because I love MLB The Show, you could put your own music in the game.
Right.
And everything's just done meticulously where you can have home run music, walk-up music. When you're walking up to the plate, you can do bottom of the first music, top of the first music, this, that, and the other thing. You can put music for everything. A foul. If somebody does an error, you can put that in the womp 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 womp. You can just do whatever you want with it, and it's awesome. And I play Road to the Show, where you just make your own character and have a career. That seems a lot more fun, and you're not playing a full 9 innings where you're just playing your part, when you come up the bat, when you have to make a catch, this, that, and the other thing. But when it comes to Philly sports, I like them all. I'll root for all the Philly teams. The Union is our soccer team, and they're like the newest sports team. For the longest time, Philly didn't have a soccer team, but there was a spirited group of individuals who call themselves the Sons of Ben, which is a reference to Ben Franklin, which our good friend Jeffrey Mitchell could probably get into more detail with. But, we were a town without a team, and they were doing our battle cry for have Philadelphia have a professional soccer team or football, wherever you're listening. I think we're the only one. I think the United States is the only ones who call them soccer. So
soccer, yeah,
it's soccer. But So actually, there is a documentary on it. I think it was on Netflix called Sons of Ben, and how these group of folks rally to get a professional soccer team here. And it's pretty cool.
That's cool.
In a lot of ways, it reminds me of there's another documentary, ESPN 30 for 30, on the Baltimore Colts marching band. And for those not familiar, or from outside the United States, the Indianapolis Colts, the American football team, used to be in Baltimore. Legendary team with Johnny Unitas, all this other thing, and they had an owner who seemed like a real swell fella. I'll say that.
Sure.
Yeah. And he moved the town out of Baltimore overnight. Like 1983 on a snowy day, a bunch of Mayflower moving trucks went to the Baltimore Colts facility, loaded up, and moved everything to Indianapolis.
Wow.
But there was this marching band that played for the Colts game. They played half times, this, that, and other thing. They would march in parades and all this stuff. And they're like, man, we're a band without a team. So, they, much like the Sons of Ben, lobbied the, Sons of Ben went to Major League Soccer. The Baltimore Colts marching band would show up at other NFL teams' games. And, they were like, yeah, this is kind of cool. I like the novelty of this. We'll have the Baltimore Colts marching band play our halftime show, or this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
They would travel everywhere, be in parades, this, that, and the other thing. And eventually Baltimore Colts left around Baltimore Colts left about 83, 84. And then eventually Baltimore got a football team, which ironically used to be the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
The Cleveland Browns moved from Cleveland to Baltimore and were rechristened the Baltimore Ravens, which I guess is a nod to Edgar Allan Poe, because he's buried in Baltimore. He's from Baltimore, whatever. And but then, it's like the full circle of life. Your team leaves for Indianapolis, their team leaves Cleveland for Baltimore, and then eventually the NFL granted Cleveland another team, which it's the Cleveland Browns, 2.0.
Right.
Which they don't call, thank God, like NXT
2.0. Yeah, no, we can leave that one right at the door.
Yeah, thankfully they didn't rechristen them Cleveland Browns 2.0, but they keep up the traditions of the dog pound. Woof, woof, woof. Yeah, shout out to Arsenio.
Great reference, by the way.
Well, I think he's from Cleveland. That's why he would always do that on the show.
Yeah.
But getting back to Philly sports, I love making connections and similarities between the two things, where these two groups of people didn't have a team, but they had passion and forthright to go forth and manifest these sports teams into towns that didn't have sports teams. So shout out to Jeffrey Mitchell, one of the Pod Squad members. He's a proud member of the Sons of Ben, and every time somebody goes to a Philadelphia Union game, I'll get a text, yo, there's a guy here with a BWO shirt on. Yep, that's Jeffrey Mitchell.
That's him.
Yeah,
it's him.
Shout out to my buddy Brent Porsche from WMMR. He was at a Philadelphia Union game. He's like, yo, there's this dude with a BWO shirt. Anytime he sees somebody in a BWO shirt, he takes a photo and sends it to me. I was like, oh, yeah, that's good old Jeffrey. So, but yeah, I love, getting back to the original question, where do I love them all, and the thing is, I can only follow maybe one or two at a time because I only have enough room for so much heartbreak.
Yeah.
But hopefully the Phillies are looking promising to get at least a wild card spot in the playoffs. Hopefully the Eagles do well. They've done a lot of great offseason moves. Just hopefully the quarterback makes that leap. And technically it's his third year, but to me, officially it's his second year because it's his second season, full season. And it's the first time since he played in high school. There's Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. He hasn't had the same offensive coach or scheme since high school. He's always, every year he's been in some new fucking thing and getting adjusted. So here's to him hoping he can do something. But this Eagles team looks fucking great. So I'm excited.
That's actually one of my next questions. I have two from Matt, and Matt from Dover wants to know, where do you think the Eagles will finish this year?
Oh man, it's there's that thing. Every fucking preseason, I'm sure every fan base goes through this. This is our year. You hear from the fucking cockroach Cowboy fans all the time. Oh, dog, it's our year. Yeah.
Finally getting off those VHS tapes for their Super Bowl win, right?
Yeah, dude. Last time they fucking won the Super Bowl, I had my natural hair color.
It was 30 years ago, wasn't it?
Fucking brutal. But they love to talk about it. I mean, they talk about Eagles fan. They say, "Oh, the Eagles never won a Super Bowl." Yeah, we won championships when there wasn't a Super Bowl.
Right.
The last Eagles won the NFL championship in 1948, 1949, and 1960. And then the AFL came along and was the main competition for the NFL. So the two organizations got together and said, let's settle it. Let's see who's the best. Let's have this Super Bowl. And that's how the Super Bowl was born. But then the NFL acquired the AFL and merged it together. And now basically the Super Bowl is just a new name for NFL championship, which sounds better. Which sounds, NFL championship, a Super Bowl. Super Bowl sounds sexier, right?
Sounds way more marketable.
It's a brand. Yeah. It's a brand, pal.
So it's brand, pal. We make movies here, pal.
But Cowboys fans, oh, you never won a Super Bowl. Yeah, we've won 3 championships before. Hey, here's the thing. The fucking last time the Eagles had won a championship up until this past Super Bowl was 1960, and the fucking Cowboys didn't exist yet. So it's just like, nothing before us ever existed, kind of thing. If it didn't exist before us, it didn't exist at all. So the Eagles won 4 championships. So eat my ass. But where do I see him this year? That's a little rant. I don't know. The new extra game this year is fucking up my. You used to be able to say a team will finish 8-8, but now there's like another game, so it'd be like 8-9. But where I see I could see the Eagles winning 9 games, 10 games. I like the coaching staff. I like what they're doing. The defensive coach has me a little worried, but I love the players he's acquired for the defense. So maybe last year was just a matter of him not having the right personnel to run his scheme. So, so hopefully they got their shit together year 2. It was and Nick Sirianni, who is our Philadelphia Eagles head coach, which when they first hired him, I was like, man, everybody's series are just going to go off, when they say his name, Nick Sirianni, hey, Sirianni. But I like him. He seems to adjust well. Last year, the Eagles were stinking it up, a little bit with the passing game, and he realized you got to run the ball. So they became the number 1 running offense. So he's open to suggestion and change, and unlike, he's not a spot monkey to where, like, if he, one spot doesn't work out, he goes, oh, well, I got to still stick to my plan. No, you got to call it in the ring. So he's got a good ability to call it in the ring when it comes to football. So if that makes sense. But I can see the Eagles easily winning 9 to 10 games.
Matt from Dover's second question is, will Jalen Hurts make that next step, or will he go the way of Dante Culpepper? Great talent, but never could make it to superstar as he should have.
Well, it's only his second year. And again, right, he was drafted and he played the last four games of 2020, I want to say, or 2021, wherever that year COVID was and nobody was in the stadium. And Carson Wentz was stinking it up, which I really attribute to Carson Wentz, led the Eagles to the playoffs in 2020. He won the NFC East. And then he got to his first playoff game against Seattle. And then with the first 5 minutes, got a fucking hit to the back of the head. He was going to the ground and the defensive player headbutted him back in the head, which drove his head into the ground. I don't think he ever recovered from that concussion he got. He got this mega concussion.
Right.
And when you get concussed, a lot of things can go wrong and you get very emotional. And in that offseason, they drafted Jalen Hurts, which, Carson Wentz has always had to look over his shoulder. He had a good first year in 2016. 2017, he was playing lights out. He's the reason why the Eagles, he got them to, 11-2 or something like that.
Something like that,
Until that Rams game where he blew his knee out. And then Nick Foles took the team to carried the team the rest of the way to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl. So in your first year, you could have went to the Super Bowl. You could have won the Super Bowl, but you blew out your knee and your backup won the Super Bowl, and everybody's calling for it. The backup who used to be the starter a couple of years ago before they traded him. So that's got to be well, shit, do I still have a fucking team? Are they going to trade me? Are they going to stay with Nick Foles? That's got to be weighing on his mind, right? So next year, he's playing, and then there's a stretch where he's just fucking stinking it up again. Turns out he has a back issue that he's been fucking playing through. They sit him out. They bench him for the rest of the year, heal up. Nick Foles takes the Eagles back to the playoffs, wins an opening round game, loses to the Saints with a fucking cunt hair of a play where if Alshon Jeffrey didn't drop that fucking pass, there's a good chance they could have, took the lead and hopefully advanced to the NFC Championship game. So Carson Wentz is sitting there going, oh, okay, here we go again, deja vu all over again, as Yogi Berra would say. So next year he's playing, and Carson Wentz literally put the team on his back, carried that team. He didn't have any quality fucking receivers. He had some good receivers, but not a T.O. or, all these other teams had loaded fucking. He carried that fucking team on his back with his offensive play to the playoffs, to where he was going to have finally a fucking, and in the meanwhile, the Eagles, had gotten rid of Nick Foles because, you go into your third year and Nick Foles is still there and people were like, we should keep Foles, They had to get rid of him. So, he takes them to the playoffs, gets fucking hit in the back of the head, which I still say is a fucking dirty play. I forget the player who did it, but, and then, gets concussed. And then that offseason, they fucking used their second-round pick, which is a very important pick, on Jalen Hurts. So 2 years, he's almost fucking watched the backup quarterback go to consecutive Super Bowls. People are calling for his backup in Nick Foles. And then, he has a good year, gets hurt, and then they fucking get a guy, they draft Jalen Hurts, which is going to be the guy that, for whatever reason, Philadelphia sports fans have this obsession with the fucking backup quarterback. It's kind of like those people who live on Earth or are obsessed with going to fucking Mars. It's like, why do you want to go to Mars? You're on Earth.
Right.
You have a
right. Why do we go there?
Earth.
Yeah.
Why are you worried about fucking Mars? That's Eagles fans. Oh, AJ Philly, dude. AJ
I was just going to say, well, that's the thing is like you have Feely, and then a couple years later you have, well, because Feely got us almost all the way to the Super Bowl also. Because McNabb was shit in the bed, and then Detmer got hurt.
Well, Jeff Garcia did really good.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, Feely was.
Yeah, Jeff Garcia did good enough that where they're like, yeah, he can't stay here.
He's got to go. We can't keep somebody good here. No.
Yeah, the next year the fans would be like, we want Jeff Garcia, not Donovan McNabb. So they were like, we'll see you, Jeff. But Jalen Hurts comes in the last 4 games of the 2020 season, something like that, 2021, which the COVID years got me fucked up. And then he does well. So Carson, pretty much says, hey, fucking trade me. They trade him to Indy. And then, then the next season, Jalen Hurts has his first full year as a starter with a new coach. He had been, training under Doug Peterson's system with, when Carson was playing. They got rid of Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz. Now it's him in what I consider his rookie season because his first year as a starter with a new head coach, new system, new everything. So, this season coming up is his second year as a starter. I think he'll be all right. I think he'll be good with Nick Sirianni. I kind of like when they bring in a new quarterback and a new coach so they could kind of gel to get, as Bruno Sammartino said, they gel really well, which throwback to last week. But
yep,
I think the Eagles will do good. I think they'll do well. Jalen Hurts seems like a real good leader, and we got AJ Brown, which is he had a hand in orchestrating that trade to get him here. So we have a couple great receivers. We have probably one of the best offensive lines of football. Our backup offensive line is better than most people's starting offensive lines, and we got a shitload of middle linebackers, which we were desperate for in years past, where we're like, okay, looks like the team's going all in. So let's see where it goes.
I had my question here, and now I lost it. Give me 1 second. Oh, here we go. Rob Kelly wants to know, is Monday Night Raw becoming appointment TV? Why or why not?
It's kind of like new sex, I guess. When you when you break up and you get the new girlfriend, and there's somebody new in control, and this is great.
Right.
Just it was WWE under Vince. Vince, quote unquote, retired. Now it's the Triple H deal, and I want to say Triple H show because that seems a little bit, like a negative connotation, but it really is. It's Triple H's. We're going in the way of Triple H's vision, and it's going to be a little bit of a journey, but seeing the talents who want to come back under Triple H is exciting.
Yeah.
And it's going to be cool to see where they go and how it goes, with Karrion Kross coming back. Johnny Gargano just came back.
Yep. It's supposed to be a big surprise coming up at Clash too, from what the internet is abuzz with.
Oh, really?
It's supposed to be some kind of big surprise at the end of the match, at the end of the title match. So
probably Bray.
But that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that would be the one thing for me that makes the most sense at this point.
Well, I'll be in England the same day.
You'll have to let me know if Cardiff explodes, man.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's a question for both of us, so we can probably extrapolate on this one a little bit. I feel like it's starting to again. Like when I watch the Kross promos, and I know we've talked about him every week. Shout out to Karrion Kross, friend of the show. Every time I watch a promo by him, I get more excited about what's happening. And then last night they had or actually will be 2 weeks from now, they had the promo, the Bloodline and Sami Zayn and the Drew McIntyre stuff and all that stuff is really exciting. So by the time you listen to this episode, we'll already have known who has appeared at Cardiff. But I'm starting to get excited about it again, man, about the product. I'm starting to get excited. Like it's starting to get new and fresh and inventive and different. I'm just hoping it maintains. I'm hoping it continues in this path.
Well, wrestling, like most businesses, is very cyclical.
Right.
it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. You know, when you're doing that much live TV in a week, you know, 3 shows between Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and
right.
then add a fourth with when you know they have a pay-per-view. That's a lot. That's especially if you know with Raw being 3 hours. I can't imagine the mental drain it puts on people.
That's a motion picture every week.
That's a pay-per-view every week too.
Yeah.
You know, with 3 hours. God damn. So I
That's
can't.
a lot of fucking time, man.
I don't envy the creative, but the fact that you know with this change in the regime with Triple H taking over creative, I think it was a bolt of lightning or energy into the creative process or into the locker room. You know, when I did, you know, a couple years ago when I did ECW Unreleased Volume 3, I talked to a producer and trying to get a feel for what was the vibe there, and everybody's like, "Yeah, man, we're all hoping for the day Triple H takes over."
Wow.
Yeah, and
wow.
Unfortunately, that guy no longer works there, but you know, he was a producer, and you know that was his vibe. Like maybe it was 7 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, and now it finally happened.
And now it's here, and then I know there's a lot of people who left who are just like, son of a bitch.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, think about it, man. I mean, honestly, like I think about that. And I often wonder about Sting too. Like I wonder, I know we just talked about him on the last episode. With Sting, I wonder how receptive they would have been, like they meaning creative, for a Sting and Undertaker match back if Hunter had been more involved with it. Or like, hey guys, match. Right. Or hey guys, I'm back. I can wrestle again. I'm cleared. Because that's what it seems like. It seemed like Christian had the same kind of complaint. Sting had the same kind of complaint. Big Show, Daniel Bryan, like, hey, we're here. We can still work. We may not, you know, it may not be main event stuff, but we can still work and do things. And they're like, nah, let's have you in the background and take pie in the face. And it's like, well, wait a second. Like, you know, I understand like there's this dynamic where you're trying to build new stars while also incorporate the old ones and, you know, like trying to bridge that world. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm excited. I'm feeling very excited about the path that the company is on right now. And I'm hoping it continues this way. So
same as it's, you know, when these shows are on, you know, I'm on social media, you know, anyway, but you could tell when, you know, these shows are on and the responsive to, you know, the new vision of SmackDown and Raw have been really good. And that's usually from people who I go, man, these people hate everything, but they seem to be digging what's going on.
Vanessa wants to know, how long do you think it's going to be before Sami Zayn turns face?
Oh, it's got to be coming soon, right?
Yeah.
You know, he's becoming one of those goofy, lovable characters to where, see a heel, yeah, but he's so goofy, you can't help but love him. You know, and this is a real person. I mean, when he first came in, he was, you know, like a serious character and stuff like that. And he was excellent, by the way. But
yeah, for sure.
He has seemed to have found his voice within the world of the WWE. And I watched him on the Broken Skull sessions with Steve Austin, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it. It's just like, well, you know, when it comes to Steve Austin, I'd like to see some of the legends on there, but you know, when they get a current like town on there, I watch. But the Sami Zayn one was super fun to watch. He's just a great guy. I've met him over the years. It's very kind, very polite, and I love, you know, my buddy Cliff Compton, who used to wrestle WWE and all these other places. He's got a lot of good fucking Sami Zayn stories. You know, just he's a natural. Like they went to go see Guns N' Roses, and they were allowed to stand side stage, and fucking Sammy's just dancing, kind of like the guy from Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
That's great.
That kind of, and he's dancing. He's kind of like dancing onto the stage, to where like the tour manager's like, hey, you got to back up. You got to back up. That kind of thing. And go on YouTube, look up Cliff Compton talk about Sami Zayn or El Generico. Fucking story is fucking brilliant. Fucking brilliant.
That's awesome.
But I love the guy. He reminds me of a few people in my life and who I like and cherish. And when I've met him, he's always great. So I'm happy for him, man. He's just found his voice. He's got this character, and he cemented himself in the world of WWE. Not that he hadn't when he was going through NXT and made his way up to the main roster. I mean,
right, but it's different because he's there now. He was the Punk guy, and then he's the Liberator and the Master Strategist and like the whole conspiracy theory thing, and now the stuff with the bloodline and also with Knoxville. Like, I mean, the guy just hasn't really missed at all since he's been on.
That's the thing. When you have your own genres, when you could go, this is me during my such and such phase. Kind of like Jericho.
Right.
Kind of like Jericho. Well, I was Y2J, and then I was doing the suit thing and all this other stuff, the Painmaker,
Yeah.
When you have genre,
Lionheart's back now.
When you're one guy and you've done genres of your own character, Undertaker's the ultimate one, right?
Yeah.
He was the dead guy in the gray, then became purple. He was pale white, then he started getting tattoos, and then, during the Attitude Era, he had the long hair, and then there was Biker Taker, but then he went back to the dead man.
The Dart. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the big dead and or big evil and the biker gimmick. I feel like it was necessary during that time.
Yeah.
But I felt like once WCW was done, like I felt like it kind of ran its course. It was like, all right, let's go back. Let's go back to where we were.
You can always go back.
Right.
You can always go back. But what was it? A new spin on an old favorite. I forget what lyric that was. I think it was Alice in Chains lyric. Which, but you can always go back and put a fresh coat of paint, as JR likes to say, on a classic. So, yeah, Sami Zayn is fucking amazing. Love him. And, I'll be interested to see where it goes. I know we're recording this pre-Clash at the Castle, and it airs post-Clash at the Castle. And I'll be in England when it happens. Maybe I'll do a run-in. Who knows? We'll see. If I don't get these fucking Foo Fighter tickets.
Yeah, Meanie will be there.
Yeah.
Meanie will be there. So I can also, I mean, to add on to that, before we get to the next question, I absolutely could see Sami Zayn in the title picture. Even with Roman, like an actual run at the title. If this takes off, I know that some of the stories and the rumor mill has been a buzz with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn being teamed up again to take on the Usos at some point, which would be a fucking barn burner.
Yeah.
But I honestly would much rather see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in the title picture. I really would. I think that how they're building this right now with Kross and Drew, potentially Bray, there's a lot of folks there's a lot of folks that are involved in what's looking like a title picture. And for me, that's exciting because it's not just like, okay, it's not formulaic. Like, all right, well, Kevin Owens is going for the title and now he lost. And now we have Edge and now he lost. And it's like this back and forth where there's no real dynamic. There's no structure and people fighting, really attaining the top of the mountain. Right. So I'm really excited for that as well. Matt from Dover has another question before we get into Lucha's one, because that's a good one. And I'm saving that one to really extrapolate. Any thoughts on the CM Punk reported drama in AEW?
Yeah, I'm just starting to get wind of that now. I kind of was a little oblivious to it, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, I guess reports are that Adam Page kind of went off script, which I hate. I hate saying off script, but
went into business for himself, brother.
And that was before the title match where Punk versus Page at the pay-per-view, right?
Right.
And he went into the business saying, "Oh, I need to save AEW from you," and stuff like that. And people have their own theories of why he did that. I guess the most popular opinion is people sticking up for Colt Cabana because, unfortunately, Cabana and Punk had their falling out.
Right.
Kind of bums me out. When I first met Punk and Cabana, they were, the best of friends. You know, I met him in Pittsburgh for Norm Connors. I forget what promotion Norm was booked for. Maybe International Wrestling Cartel, I'm not sure, out towards Pittsburgh. But I saw Punk and Cabana have this match. I was like, man, if I ever have a promotion, I gotta book these guys. And then when 3PW came about, and they were on the first ever 3PW show, and it was always cool to see. It's always cool, to look back and see, somebody break in and have a crew of guys. To have a crew. Punk and Cabana. It was Punk, Cabana, Chris Hero, Ace Steel. There's a few other. I feel bad. I'm blanking on, but they had their own crew from where they were from, and they were branching out and hitting the road and seeing the world, and it was very, very like coming of age kind of story. And then Punk goes to WWE. Cabana stays Ring of Honor. Cabana went to Ring of Honor for a little bit too. Then back to Cabana went to WWE and then back to Ring of Honor. This, that, and the other thing, and then eventually, Punk has his run in WWE, and then he's fed up with the process. He's fed up with the backstage. He gets that staph infection in his back, and they're loading up with Z-Packs, and he's just not feeling good. He eventually says, I fucking had enough, right?
Right.
So he walks out of WWE, I want to say after the Rumble in Philly.
He walked out in Cleveland.
Yeah. His last quote-unquote match was the Rumble in Philly, but he walked out in Cleveland. And he Colt Cabana, a podcasting pioneer for at least wrestling, I saw there was a Chikara show in Philly. I stopped by, and Cabana was like, "Hey, you want to do my podcast?" I was like, "What's a fucking podcast? I don't know what that is." And the first, quote unquote podcast I did was Colt Cabana's Art of Wrestling podcast, and got a lot of good feedback from it too. I had no idea there was this whole other venture, and Colt opened up that door and allowed a whole bunch of wrestlers to come through and venture into talking to wrestling fans and entertaining wrestling fans without having to put a physical toll on their body. We can just talk to the fans or interview other wrestlers, this, that, and the other thing. He gave other wrestlers an avenue to possibly, entertain and stay in touch with wrestling fans. So after, Punk quits, he goes on Cabana's podcast, which was wildly popular. Mm-hmm. And the fact that, I think it was a two-parter, but like the reaction to it was so big, it crashed whatever sites that Cabana, whatever sites were hosting Cabana's podcast.
So, but also, I think it ended up, they got sued for it, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, I was going down that line because... Eventually, they got sued. CM Punk had said something about the WWE medic, and the medic took exception to it and led to this lawsuit. And then, the lawsuit got thrown out, but here they are with this legal bill. And apparently, I don't know anything other than what I hear. I hear, Punk said, I'll take care of it. And eventually, somebody said, allegedly, Punk said, you're on your own kind of thing.
Wow.
I don't know what's true. I just know I'm very bummed out that these two guys who were friends, starting off with, chasing their dream and became best friends and, led the charge for a younger generation to be able to have a voice in the business. These two guys are no longer friends, and that bums me out. So, other people had a reaction to it too, because Colt Cabana has been in AEW since day one.
Right.
Oh, also Colt Cabana is one of the brains behind Pro Wrestling Tees.
No shit.
Yeah. He needed to get a T-shirt for CM Punk for Raw because CM Punk was going to do play-by-play or something like that. Punk needed a shirt quick for TV, and Colt Cabana saw this store called 1 Hour Tees in Chicago, got a shirt done, and went, hey, this would be an interesting concept for pro wrestling, and they worked out a deal, and he was talking to Ryan from Pro Wrestling Tees, and the original guys for Pro Wrestling Tees were Cabana, the Young Bucks, and Kevin Owens, and one other person who I'm blanking on. I apologize. So there's another thing Cabana contributed to pro wrestling, that all these wrestlers can not only sell their own merchandise, but not have to pay the overhead, not pay the stocking fees and all this stuff.
Right.
You're not paying for anything other than you're just posting links and fans can buy your stuff. And as Colt Cabana made that possible for wrestlers to have alternative income.
Right.
So he's done a lot of good things for a lot of good people. And, Punk's been great too. He's been outspoken and, wants things to be good for wrestling. But I guess Adam Page took exception to the fact that in some people's opinions, I don't know this for fact, allegedly, people think that Colt's decline in AEW is, due to Punk, which I don't know. Apparently, AEW has, instead of just telling people outright they're not renewing their deals, they kind of just let them drift away, and
right, which
is unfortunate.
Yeah.
If you're not going to use somebody, let them know so they can go make plans. So and it was kind of looking like it was going to be that way with Colt Cabana, which is, to me, is mind blowing. He's OG AEW. He's one of the brains behind Pro Wrestling Tees, which is also the company that does all the AEW shirts. When you go to shop AEW, that's Pro Wrestling Tees.
Right.
So, and Adam Page felt like he wanted to stand up and speak up for Colt Cabana. It just happened to be that he hadn't planned
to do that.
Or Punk had no idea that this was coming. So, it happens. And if you watch Punk's face during the whole thing, you could tell he's just like, what the fuck?
Right, taking that extra shot there.
So they have the match. Punk wins the belt. Punk hurts his foot. He goes away, but he comes back and he does this thing where he does this grandstand challenge where he's calling out Adam Page, who wasn't booked for that week's TV. And when Adam Page comes out, he calls Adam Page a coward, which, it's tit for tat at this point. You want to go off script and trying to, do something with me. I'm going to receipt you back. Now, who's right, who's wrong, I don't know. I'm not backstage. I don't know the fucking politics of it, but it's interesting. It's interesting for the fans that this is leaking out, unless this is some fucking elaborate work that I'm not akin to or not privy to. But privy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It just seems very like something like CM Punk just needs to stay out of Cleveland, it feels like, because between the WWE, UFC, and AEW, like something continually happens.
I didn't even make that connection.
Yeah, somebody did on Twitter earlier, and I was like, oh shit, like everything bad happens to CM Punk in Cleveland. But no, I don't know, man. I don't necessarily think that this is a work, just like I don't think that the MJF thing is a work, because I feel like if the MJF thing was a work at this point, he would probably have been back in some capacity.
I don't know, because
I don't know, man.
If the MJF thing was a shoot,
brother,
then what's Tony Khan thinking about letting this guy go on his live TV and saying whatever he wants about him on live TV? If they were really having a thing, the last thing I would do is give a guy a hot mic to go on TV and say wherever he wanted about me. You know what I'm saying?
What is it? That's what I mean. Like, why? But like, for me, it's like, okay, well, let's for the benefit of the doubt with MJF, let's just assume it's a work just for a second,
which I'm leaning towards. Yeah.
What has he been doing? Why is he out? He hasn't been on any national television programs. He hasn't been in any feature films.
He's furthering the storyline.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I mean, Tony's got the cash to pay him to sit out. He's going to go. He's going to, work out, get jacked, brother. And then, well, here's the thing. You can't surprise somebody if somebody's still there. You can't miss somebody if they go away.
True. I don't know though, man. I really don't. I'm conflicted on this, and I'm conflicted on the Punk thing too, because there's a pattern.
I think
there seems to be a pattern.
I think the Punk thing's a shoot.
Well, I also to mention about Punk before we get back into MJF. I mean, there's also reports coming out now that people are unhappy with him backstage, or that he is unhappy in the company, and it's like, well, what's going on? Like, what is happening with you at this point? Like, is it something that you need to address outwardly? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's going on in the guy's head, and I certainly don't want to. I would never try to jump into somebody's head or imagine what they're feeling, but it's like, bro, like there's starting to be a pattern here. Like, what's going on with this? Like, what's happening? You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
But I know I don't believe for a second that the CM Punk thing is anything other than a full blown shoot at this point.
It's definitely a shoot.
And now I have questions about the Moxley squash, because I did not expect Moxley to go over in that match, and apparently he squashed him pretty quickly.
Yeah, they put the full match on YouTube like immediately.
Yeah. It was like 8 minutes or something like that. Like it was quick. Like I remember watching it and being like, it's over already?
Well, I don't know if, here's the thing. I don't know if it's a work, it's a brilliant work, but Punk went to throw a kick and he sold his planting foot, which is the foot he originally injured in the first place. Right. So you do something like that and it lends credibility to a storyline where people knew he was legit. He legit broke his foot. Maybe he came back a little too soon. End up costing him the title. He goes back away for a little bit. Maybe things cool off a little bit behind the scenes. Hey, you know what? Let me take a step back. Let cooler heads prevail. I'll come back. Moxley get a run with the title, and now I have an issue to come back for my title. A title that I never really got to have a proper run with, so to speak.
Right. He had the win and then never defended it because he got injured.
He did a 6-man tag match, which blew my mind that they would have a guy who just won the title on pay-per-view the night before come out and work an opening 6-man tag instead of just come out and say, celebrating the road to that win for the AEW title. It made no sense to me.
It made zero sense.
And then in return, the guy broke his foot, and you had to make all these alternative plans, brother.
Yeah, dude. No thanks. I thought that was a very poor booking decision to have your champion in just after you win in a title defense. I don't know, man. I just have a lot of questions on this, and I'm curious, and I'm sure it's going to play out over the course of time, and I'm sure we'll find out what happens eventually. But somebody brought up a good point. During this entire exchange on Twitter, they were like, "Oh, we can't. Of course, it's happening in AEW's locker room because it's the same thing that happens when somebody hears about heat in WWE's locker room. They're like, oh, of course this happens, and all these divas and personalities and all this shit." And it's like, Sir Wilkins, friend of the show from the Jobber Tears podcast, was like, "You guys have act like I can tell which one of you have never worked in corporate America. Like this kind of shit happens all the time with coworkers and colleagues and stuff, and wrestling is not immune to this. Like it's not surprising to hear that somebody has an issue with somebody backstage. Most times, I'm sure that you could probably attest to way better.
Yeah.
Just because of your experience. A lot of times we don't hear about this shit. There could be boiling beefs that happen backstage that the world never hears about.
Yeah.
And then when it comes out in a shoot interview, you're like, holy shit, that happened.
Right. And then, there's, people go, everybody's friends, right? It's like, well, here's the thing. The people you think like each other probably hate each other, and they probably hate each other probably like each other.
Right.
It's like, it's high school bullshit, it all starts in high school with who's more popular, this, that, and everything. And people, edging their way to the top of the ladder pretty much,
Yep.
Again, it's any business. And to me, sports is a business too, where,
yep.
LeBron couldn't win in Cleveland, so he had to amass a super team to help win a couple championships, games of favoritism and stuff. There's a show on HBO which I haven't watched. I've been meaning to watch called Succession, where it's kind of like the owner of this company is, his the people who work for him, including his own family, is trying to take him out.
Wow.
Push him out of a company that he was the head of for so long, which to me is like, man, that sounds a lot like the fucking Vince angle,
It really does.
Not
it
angle,
really does.
But the Vince deal.
The real thing.
Yeah. So, dude, a lot of people who overreact to a lot of things that happen in corporate pro wrestling, like you said, it happens in every form of business, because when it comes down to it, it's dollars and cents. And, airtime, who can get the most airtime, who can sell the most merch, and stuff like that.
Here's a fun one from Ivan Rivers. Would you folks ever want to try a savory seltzer, like mashed taters and gravy, but in a dang can of sparkling water?
I'll try anything, man. That
I won't say I won't vomit afterwards, but yeah, I'd probably try it.
Why not? If you give me one for free, I'll fucking drink it, as long as it's a legit product that
Yeah.
You didn't make
if it's free, man, we'll drink it on the show here. We'll fucking plug your shit. Yeah, I don't care.
If you didn't make it in the basement, the only thing I'll drink out of a basement is my Uncle Jimmy's basement wine, but that's about it.
Uncle Jimmy's basement wine.
Yeah.
Gross. I only had moonshine one time, and I don't remember like an entire day's worth of stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, dude.
Unfortunately, my Uncle Jimmy passed away, but like one of the last times I saw him, there's a place in South Philly called Nick's Charcoal Pit that I love to go to. Fucking fantastic food. 13th and Snyder here in South Philly. And Uncle Jimmy, I would always see him sitting. You know how he's like one of those guys that's always out in the corner, kind of like King of the Hill, where the guys are just hanging out, ding, 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 ding. But there's always Uncle Jimmy, hanging out there outside of Nick's Charcoal Pit. They even got him a chair so he could sit out there. And
that's awesome.
I went in there one night to get food, and he was in there. I was like, "Oh, Uncle Jimmy." He's like, "Hey, Bri," and he reaches in a bag and hands me a bottle of South Philly Red. It's some of his some of his basement wine. I was like, thank you. But he passed away, and like every time I go past Nick's Charcoal Pit, there's like an arrow carved into the brick. It says, his last name is Bell, Jimmy Bell, Mr. Bell's seat.
Oh, it's awesome.
So I took a photo. I posted it out on social media a little bit after he passed, but I don't even know where we got. You're talking about trying different seltzers. Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm about it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Here's one other question. Carl Carlson, Blue Meanie, what do you think about the DeZeus and Mero breakup?
Hold on, what happened now?
DeZeus and Mero. They are a show, a program on, what is it? Is it Showtime? Showtime. You familiar with them?
No.
No, I'm not totally familiar. I know them from the memes, but I am not familiar with them.
I know Mark Mero, and that's about it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's going to be a pass from us, brother. But we appreciate the question.
Doesn't work for me, brother.
So good to work for me, brother. I say that at my shoot job now, too. So I'm really excited about that. All right, here's the good question I've been saving from Lucha Lechoso. Any bold predictions? Friend of the show and Pod Squad member, Lucha Lechoso. Any bold predictions on the landscape of wrestling a year from now? Cody Rhodes as WWE champion, MJF as AEW champion. What are your predictions,
dude?
It's a tough one, man. It's hard to say for sure.
I would love to see a kayfabe arrangement between AEW and WWF where MJF just shows up on fucking Raw and they fucking haul him out with security.
Yeah.
No explanation who he is. No acknowledgement of who he is. No acknowledgement from AEW of what happened on another person's TV, but AEW gives him a couple bucks, flies him to fucking wherever Raw is. He just runs out, hops the ring, says a couple things on the mic, and security, wrangles him up. And they do the thing where the camera cuts away, kind of like, when somebody runs on the baseball field, they never show the guy. They just have the crowd reaction like, oh, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Or even, if he hops the rail, cut away. Kind of, I don't know if they're doing that with, I know Dexter Loomis has been hopping the rail, but
yeah.
But to treat it like a legit shoot, like a fan hop the rail, cut the cameras away, this, that, and the other thing, and let the fans tell the story on social media with camera phones and this, that, and the other thing. Like, oh my God, MGF just ran out wrong. But WWE never acknowledges it. AEW never acknowledges it. And then eventually it leads to something,
Right.
Have these little Easter. Well, here's the thing, like I was saying about MGF. The reason why I think it's a shoot is he hasn't been on TV. There's no acknowledgement. He won't answer. Tony won't say anything about him in the media scrums because he's trying to let the story marinate.
Let it marinate.
Let it marinate. Just you don't let a guy go on TV and the last thing he does is call you a fucking mark. On TV, you're spending $1 million on, and it's taking away other people's TV. That's another thing you got to consider. TV time is so valuable for talent. Somebody else could have been in that spot benefiting from TV time, but you let MJF go on live national TV and call you a fucking mark. It's got to be work. And that's why they haven't acknowledged him since then. And eventually, in a couple months or whatever, there'll be a nice little, like, how you doing, kind of thing. And little Easter eggs here and there, and it'll lead to something. But company and the business as a whole, Roman just made allusions to, or made a reference to, him versus Rock being it's a better chance to happening than ever before.
Right.
WrestleMania Hollywood. That looks like it'll happen. Do they put the belt on Rock? I don't think so. I think just have a special attraction match. But then again, what do you do with the belts if he's still champion by that by that point?
I don't think Roman's walking out of the Clash with both belts.
No,
I don't think he is. I'd be very, very surprised to see that continue. Dude. I love the Universal storyline. I think that should continue. But I think at this point, and I want to jump in because I kind of want this to be collaborative to sort of tie up the show. But I think in order to get to Cody being the champion, you have to get the belt off of Roman. And the better storyline for me, after watching that trio of matches, is Cody going over on Seth Rollins for the title. That's the ultimate for me, right?
Right.
And I think that's the right way to get there. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's just it breaks my heart that Drew McIntyre never got a proper title reign in front of fans.
Yeah.
He was the COVID era fucking champion in front of no fans in a cold, empty studio.
Yep.
Just wrestling. It was fucking brutal. But the fact that, they're having this match over in England, Clash at the Castle, this has to me, this has a feeling of like when SummerSlam was at Wembley kind of thing, where, I see Drew leaving with a belt.
Yes.
I definitely see Drew leaving with a belt at the Castle, which was last night. So
right. So we will know for sure.
I'm either going to be brilliant or I'm going to be an asshole right now, But I just definitely see Drew. Drew is awesome. He looks the part. He's fucking. He looks like a fucking superhero. He looks like a legit. He reminds me of the guys, one of the main villains that was fighting Superman, and I think Superman 2 or 3 or whatever it was. But he just looks like a fucking superhero. And some people wear a belt, and it looks like the belt was just made for him. That fucking belt looks like the belt. Steve Austin won the WWF belt, and the night after they got rid of the fucking winged eagle, which I was so pissed about, and they got the new belt.
Oh, I know. That big giant, the golden eagle, right?
Yeah, but I hated that belt for the longest time until Triple H wore it, and I was like, you know what? I kind of like that belt now. That belt looks good on Triple H. If somebody posted a photo of Barry Windham with the NWA US title from back in the day, I was like, dude, if there's a belt that looked like it was made for a human being, That United
It's that
States,
one.
That United States belt looks like it was made for Barry Windham. That WWF title looks like it was specifically. Is it for the WWF title or the Universal title?
Which one are you talking about?
Clash of the Castle.
It's for both of them.
Oh, it's for both. All right.
Yeah, but I
that world title looks like it was made for Drew McIntyre.
the black one, absolutely, yeah. And I think again, if you're going to continue this reign on top, because Roman's been champion now for Jesus Christ, let me see, I think it's over 700 days now as the Universal Champion, which is insane, absolutely insane. Where the hell is it? Intercontinental Universal Champion. Let's see how long his reign is right now. 726 days. August 23rd, 2020, he beat Strut and the Fiend for the title. Yeah, I think if you're going to continue it, I think you should keep the Universal. I think you should keep the blue belt on him. Let the black strap go back to Drew and let him have his proper run in front of the audience, because I think that's where we're at this point.
Yeah. My
My only question is, how do you get one belt off of Roman and onto Drew?
Yeah.
Because I don't think they should ever. To be honest, like, I'm not a fan of combining the belts. Like, it's not like it was the undisputed title when Jericho won it, right? It's a WWE, WWF, or WCW. You're mixing them. That makes sense. But like this, it's like, why did you do that? There's an entire plethora, an entire company of folks who could be fighting for this title right now. And I didn't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah.
What else you got? What other bold predictions do you have for next year?
Dude, if I could predict that, I'd buy a fucking lottery ticket. But which I should probably do.
Yeah, probably might be a good idea.
I have a trip to pay for. Nah, it's all good. But yeah, just it'll be interesting. You know, it's the next year of a full year of Triple H's vision.
Yep.
We'll see how AEW fares.
Yeah. See how it goes.
With all this alleged backstage drama. We don't know we don't know what's work, what's shoot. But
the Warner Brothers stuff, nobody knows about that. The Warner Brothers Discovery stuff, and
that's a whole nother ball of wax where you don't know. You know, allegedly, you know, they reached out to AEW and said, "Hey, can you stop with the swearing kind of thing or the stronger language?" All it takes is for one person to go, "I don't like wrestling."
Yeah. Yep.
Get it off my air, and then
that's a wrap.
And then what do? Do you become strictly a YouTube show?
Can you even produce content at the level that you could as a YouTube show?
Right.
If you lose your television rights, how do you get streaming rights? Because that's basically like, you know.
Right.
I mean, think about it. Like, this is going to sound like a weird comparison, but I'm a big fan of the show Community, right?
Yeah.
Community was on NBC for 5 seasons. It got canceled, and then it went to Yahoo for its 6th season. And going to Yahoo was cool, but it didn't have the same kind of impact that it did with NBC. And then YouTube, or then Yahoo ended up folding afterwards anyway. And it was just like, guys, this is not, you know, like this isn't the same. So I'm curious, like, you know, you get canceled off of main television like that, especially a property like TBS and TNT. How do you make yourself viable again? And again, not talking shit on AEW. I'm just saying, like, these are the realities of television business. And anyone who's not, I mean, and like, to be clear, anyone who's not looking at this merger in a business sense and just being like, you know, oh, AEW is the greatest thing on earth and they'll never lose their rights. Like, yeah, well, that's what we said about WCW. That's what we said about ECW. Well, these companies both went under, right? Like, and that happens. It happens all the time. We also said that Bray Wyatt would never be let go of WWE the way he was. And he was their biggest merchandise seller. Like, you know, like shit happens in business all the time that makes no sense, that has no structure, no thought behind it. And it's just the way it is. So if you're not looking at this in a realistic way, you should probably get out of your bubble for a minute and really look at context in full.
Well, I mean, Eric Bischoff was going by WCW, but the lack of a TV deal killed the deal.
Right.
Eric Bischoff and Fusient Media were going to buy WCW and take it over from there. But TBS said, no TV. Well, without TV, what good is this? What good is this company? You know, it's dead.
Right. It's valueless at this point.
Yep.
So, no, I mean, you know, I think Lucha's in here. MJF isn't around because there's a lot of other talents. If you notice, there's always 2 AEW's wrestlers out for a period of time. Omega just finished it. We're talking about the MJF. We're going back on that one.
Omega had legit injuries.
Injury.
Yeah, he was, and he said, like, if I get injured again, I have to go through all this rehab. I just might call it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, look at, who's the quarterback from the Colts who retired like a week before the season started? Right before they got, I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
But he was so injured that he was just like, you know what? Do I want to go have another rehab session? It's dry.
But here, you know what? Here's jumping in with Bailey real fast because I do want to point this out and I want to talk about this before we wrap up. He says if AEW lost their TV deal, they would make more money anywhere else at the moment. I have to disagree with you on that. I have to.
Oh, what he said?
I don't think
I would.
He said if AEW lost their television deal, it would make more money anywhere else at this moment. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. I have to push back on that. And it's not in an argumentative way or anything like that. I just don't think that the property is on the same level. If you look at the rate, you have to understand, you have to look at ratings, you have to look at merchandise sales, you have to look at all of the other business back end deals, because you have to remember there's a video game that's also in play here that's been, from what we know of, it's got an 8-figure advance on it.
Without a TV, how are you going to promote your video game?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, Andrew Luck was the quarterback for the Colts who he retired.
Thank you.
He retired the week. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. He retired the week before the opening season because he was tired of getting hurt, tired of doing rehab, which is kind of like, seems like it's Kenny Omega's mindset now. He's like, do I really want to have to go through one of these painful rehab things?
Well, how old is Kenny Omega now?
I don't know.
He's been doing and he wrestles a pretty aggressive style too. He's 38 years old, so he's a year older than me. He wrestles. He was wrestling a pretty aggressive style in Japan with a lot of moves and a lot of things. And
yeah,
look, I am incredibly hopeful. Yeah. I'm incredibly hopeful that AEW gets a better deal. They make more money because rising tides lift all boats. But I don't know if I necessarily understand the valuation process that people put on this property in comparison to WWE, right? Just being honest.
Yeah.
WWE is a globally recognized franchised entity, not franchise, but like it's a globally recognized entity in the way that Coca-Cola and McDonald's is. That they're going to make a killing on their next deal, regardless of what happens.
Band-Aid brand, Kleenex,
Right. They're a mainstay. Yeah. WWE is synonymous with wrestling. And I think that may be hampering in some aspects why AEW maybe hasn't popped off the way that people thought it would. And that's not to say that they're not doing a decent job, but you have to look at the ratings. If there's no ratings and they're looking to cut cost at Warner Brothers Discovery, which is what Zaslav is doing, he's just cutting shit.
Yeah.
You got to really be concerned about
what was that Batgirl show they canceled, that Bat Show girl they spent a couple tens of millions of dollars on.
Right. And again, you have to be, but again, like, yeah, sure. They could go to Amazon, they could go to Netflix, they could go to all these things, but what is the marketing push behind that property and that entity on the station?
Right.
How much of the return on investment are you going to get if a program or a property or an entity goes to that? It's the same thing. No. And Bailey, I could be wrong too. He's like, I could definitely be wrong. That's just what I think. I said, I could be absolutely wrong. I could be pissing in the wind here.
What would be the next network?
Right. That's what I mean. Like, what you're on a Turner network at this point, which is a huge property to be involved with. But what other networks are available for them to go to? And I think they really should start kind of trying to map out that idea if something does go south with this. And I hope that it doesn't. But I don't know. I'm not in the business. I have no acumen in regard to that. I just know how financials and corporate structures work. And
this isn't.
I'm concerned.
This isn't a thing on AEW creative or talent. It's just
not at all
a matter of, does a company want to continue to pay for it and have it on their airwaves? That's what we're talking about. Right. That has no bearing on whether the product is good or not, or the talent's good or not.
Exactly. Right. And I think that's what people miss in this discourse too, is they're like, oh, well, if you say that AEW is going to get canceled, then you fucking hate the product. That's the farthest thing from the truth. A lot of my friends work there. I want them to make as much money as they can. Right. I want the entire business to be successful, and I want there to be a healthy competition. We've mentioned that shit on this show multiple times.
Yep.
And I don't want to be taken out of context. But, at the end of the day, competition breeds success for everyone.
Yes.
The problem is that do other people see the vision that Tony Khan has? And I don't know if Warner Brothers Discovery sees that at this point right now. They may. We could be all just pissing in the wind because I don't think anybody really knows what's happening until it's announced. But I don't know, and I'm concerned, and I definitely have some concerns here with that. And I hope that I'm wrong. Yeah. But if they are successful, and this MJF thing is a shoot or a work rather, I could see MJF being champion by this time next year, or maybe before that. So, but what I do see is a man right here who loves doing a podcast with the Blue Meanie. Blue Meanie, thank you so much for your time, sir, and your answering all of these wonderful questions. Don't forget, friends, we do an Ask Meanie segment every week at the end of the program. So don't forget to tweet us at Mind of the Meanie on Twitter. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Mind of the Meanie. Leave us your questions with the hashtag Ask Meanie, and you may hear them answered on the show. But Meanie, more importantly, where can everybody find you on social media?
If you would like to follow the Blue Meanie, a.k.a. me, on social media, you can follow me on all forms of social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and that thing called TikTok. Go to @Blue Meanie, BWO. I am on all forms of social media. If you would like to support the Blue Meanie, go to prowrestlingtees.com/Blue Meanie. Get yourself one of the classic BWO shirts. I got some great shirts that just came out. I still have some great shirts that are coming soon. I'll just say that. Come into prowrestlingtees.com/Blue Meanie. If you would like to support Mind of the Meanie, go to prowrestlingtees.com/Mind of the Meanie. Get yourself a great logo shirt designed by the great Hal Haney. We're very fortunate that Hal designed our podcast logo. Speaking of great shirts, Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand. Go to collarandelbowbrand.com. Use coupon code Meanie. Save yourself 10%. Shout out to Rod Hicks doing amazing work over there at collarandelbowbrand.com. Now, if you're a bearded fellow like myself and you like to look well kept, trim it up and make it smell good, make it feel good, go to madcatbeardcare.com. Get yourself the blue spruce. I got a Mad Cat Beard Care beard comb that I keep in my back pocket at all times too as well. But get the blue spruce beard balm, beard oil. My boy Josh Thornton is doing an amazing job over there at madcatbeardcare.com. He's rounding up the kitties. He's taking care of the feral kitties. And every dime that's made at madcatbeardcare.com goes to take care of feral cats. So if you're a cat lover like myself, do yourself a favor. Go to madcatbeardcare.com. Shout out to my boy Jim Nilsson over at glaciersofIce.com. Jim makes some of the best sneakers, custom Air Jordan 1s. Hand-stitched, hand-cut leather, hand-stitched. He made a custom pair of three handmade BWO Air Jordan 1 sneakers for Stevie, Nova, and myself. Each sneaker that he makes takes about 50 hours per pair that he makes.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
Insane. And if you want to see his process, he posts, especially on Instagram, he posts a lot of progress videos, photos. Go to GOI Kicks on all forms of social media, and Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, but especially Instagram. He posts a lot of videos on there. Go to GOI Kicks and see how my buddy over there makes some custom sneakers. Now, if you have a special event, birthday, holiday, well-wish, or if you have a business you want me to endorse as well, we have that option as well. Go to cameo.com/Blue Meanie BWO. I just did some videos this week. I've done some birthdays. I've done some quote-unquote paid endorsement videos as well. So go over to cameo.com/Blue Meanie and get a video from the blue guy. But most importantly, Mr. Barnard, how can we find you?
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Meanie. I appreciate you. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at thisisgoober. Yes, it is my handle. No, I'm not changing it. It's a brand, pal. You also check out my second show, Foundation Radio, by going to foundationradio.net. We talk about a lot of things on that show that we don't talk about here. A lot of great interviews, great content. Everyone from Rob Van Dam to Robert Costa to Tommy Chong. So go ahead and check it out, foundationradio.net. Go ahead and pick up a shirt at prowrestlingtees.com. /Foundation Radio. Help us keep the lights on here at the Barnard home for wayward and troubled youth. Twitter.com/Mind of the Meanie, Facebook.com/Mind of the Meanie, mindofthemeanie.com, Patreon.com/Mind of the Meanie. Sign up today and become a patron and part of our pod squad. Blue Meanie, I want to thank you again for this marvelous Ask Meanie Anything edition of the program for the Blue Meanie. I am Adam Barnard. Join us again each and every week as we take a trip to the mind
Blue world order.
of the Meanie.
This episode of Mind of the Meanie was recorded and produced by Adam Barnard and was engineered by Carl Pinnell. Additional production and narration provided by Sam Krebs. Our executive producers are Josh Chernoff, Adam Barnard, and the Blue Meanie. Our opening theme is performed by the Swamp Candles. Our closing theme is performed by Chikara. The show contains original music produced by Enrichment. Get additional bonus content by becoming our patron on Patreon at patreon.com/Mind of the Meanie. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Mind of the Meanie. This has been a Butts Carlton media production in conjunction with the MLW Radio Network. Butts Carlton, proprietor.
Blue world order.
Dad, why is Blue Meanie's brain out?
The world of MLW Radio never stops.